Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavik. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my 24 years as a craftsman, a painter, a finisher, a restorationist, colorist, to answer any of your questions you have regarding the business of running a painting business or the actual painting itself. So today we have a bunch of interesting things going on. I'm going to talk to you about my next series, my next project. I've been hashtagging all my projects. You guys can follow along progress here. This project right here is my home. My home is 100 years old this year, and for its 100th birthday, I will be fully restoring the exterior of it. And all of today, we're doing some prep. All of next week, I'll be walking you guys through the process of restoring this little craftsman home here. So, and all the particulars that go with it. So, if you want to follow the hashtag Slavic Century Restoration, you can follow along with this project, every bit that we do. From start to finish here. All of next week we're going to be here doing this, and also I have a big announcement from the PDCA. I will show you a couple things first here. Spin you around. I'm going to do a very short demo on some deck restoration today, and part of it, this is an oak table made from reclaimed oak that I made a bunch of years ago. And I'm going to show you some wood brightening techniques. You can see once the water penetrates into the wood of oak, the tannic acid turns black. And I have a solution here of oxalic acid that I treated it with, and before the end of the show, we'll wash it off and we'll see if it does any difference here. Walk you around the outside of this guy. This house has all of its original siding and trim, still in great shape. And part of the process here, I'm going to be experimenting next week with a whole bunch of deck restoration projects. So, cedar deck, built 8 to 10 years ago. I've been perfectly maintaining it with oil, and I'm going to be showing you some restoration stuff. I have a patch of strippers started over here that, again, I will wash before we finish this show, and we'll see how it works. This house, like I said, it's 100 years old this year, and for its 100th birthday, we're going to be doing a full restoration, fixing it up the best we can here. And I should take this time to tell you that big announcement this week, the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, and I have actually partnered together. The show Ask a Painter was started in order to reach homeowners. There was a great need for a whole bunch of input from craftsmen, for people who have devoted their life to this trade, that, you know, homeowners have a ton of questions and there's very few outlets to get them done. Anybody who's watched HGTV, DIY, stuff like that, you get the wrong impression of painting projects a lot of the time. So I thought I would take, you know, when I would watch those shows, I would read about what people do in magazines. It sort of made me cringe a little bit. I saw a lot of wasted effort. I saw a lot of bad outcomes. So I figured I would use my 24 years as a craftsman to kind of convey some of the things that I've learned over the years. And Ask a Painter was the main vehicle to do this. And it was basically dedicated to homeowners. Now the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, is a group of people who own painting companies. They're all professionals, they're entrepreneurs, there's leader of men, they're business people. And I thought the PDCA would be a great fit to expand this reach of knowledge, not only to homeowners, but now also to professionals as well. So if you are a professional painting contractor, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're somebody who's in the trade and wants to know particular things about it, most of us are pretty good with coatings. You know, a lot of the questions from contractors will not end up being, what primer should I use here? A lot of it is entrepreneurial stuff. How do you handle this particular employee situation? What's the difference between having 1 employee and 10 employees? Accounting, marketing, running a business, and that's sort of where the PDCA steps in with this stuff. The PDCA will be the conduit in which questions from the contractors come to me. So every week there will be a contractor question of the week. If there's anything you've ever wanted to know, not only from a craftsman, who's somebody who actually practices the trade every day with their crew, but also, you know, running a business. I do my own books, I do my own marketing, I do all my own vehicle lettering, I do all the hiring, I do all the estimating, I do all the purchasing. So I basically you know, I'm doing double duty, but it's easy to do when you really, really like your job. So for you professionals out there, if you've ever had any questions for somebody knee-deep in the process here, this is the route to do it. And go to the PDCA's Facebook page or go to my Facebook page, facebook.com /AskAPainter, and convey any of those questions you have. And each week I'll be selecting with the PDCA some of those questions, and we'll specifically talk about some contractor issues. For those of you who have seen Ask a Painter in the past, you know, it is a lot of homeowner questions, and I absolutely love the input from the other contractors who watch this. A homeowner will have a question, they'll type it in the feed down below, and not only will I give a swing at it, all the other contractors will chime in as well. And it's a great way to learn, and it's a great way to let homeowners think about what we think about, and it's a good way for us to let know what the homeowners think about. So I'm going to grab somebody on my crew here, and we're going to go give those that table a rinse and that deck a rinse and see what we can do here. So give me just a second. Alex! Hey! Alex! Let's wash. Okay. They'll be bringing down that here. One of the interesting things that I'm going to do here is I'm going to experiment with some fine paints of Europe. I got some Holland lac, and I have 2 doors here that I'm going to fully restore, give it the full prime treatment, sand down smooth, and we're going high gloss Holland lac. So if any of you guys have ever wanted to see the process start to finish of making that beautiful, beautiful entry door in a high gloss finish, this is going to be the place to see it, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that next week. Also, not on the house right now, but I have 2 mahogany screen doors that I'll be restoring as well. Those are finished with a marine varnish, and I'll be laying those down and showing you guys how we treat that stuff, along with the deck here. So, Alex, one of my apprentices, is bringing the pressure washer over, and we're gonna, as you can see here, I'll flip this guy around again. Okay, like I said, oak table, when it's exposed to water and the air, the tannic acid in the wood turns dark, and as you can see here, I put a mixture of oxalic acid on it. You can see it's starting to work its magic here, and we'll get the washer over here. Yep, fire that thing up and bring it over. All right, so we're gonna wash this table. I'll show you kind of the difference. We've only had this dwelling for maybe 15 minutes or so. Probably won't be full effect. When I do this stuff next week, I'm gonna actually cover it with plastic and let it dwell the full time, but at least it'll show you kind of what professionals do to bring back a lot of wood outside. It's one of the big questions that I have all the time, especially in Minnesota with decks, when we go from, you know, 105 degrees down to -40 hard temps and wind and snow and all this other stuff. It's maintaining wood outside like this here is very, very difficult. So I have 3 different forms of wood on the outside of my house here. We got this white oak table, we have mahogany on the screen doors, and then we have cedar decks. So a combination of those. I'll kind of show you how we restore all those. So Alex is firing up the pressure washer, and they'll come over here and we'll show you what we got here. Dragging the hose over. Okay, I did the last foot here, so just give it a good clean in there. Okay. They're getting some slack in the hose. Here, we'll pull the table over. Follow me around back, would you? Yep. Okay, so you can see the start of this stuff working. It's going from black to much lighter here compared to the jet black stains here. You can see that tannic, or excuse me, that oxalic acid working. So I'm going to mix up a little hotter mixture for next week. We're going to let it dwell here, and then I will show you the full restoration of that piece. We're going to go back to the deck here, and I have some sodium hydroxide, a solution working up on the deck here. And over the years, I've done a whole bunch of homemade kind of deck stripping methods. I've used just about every off-the-shelf stripper you can find to do this stuff. And I really wanted to perfect this process, especially now that I'm conveying it to other people, and I wanted to show you kind of the chemistry behind it. And I want to thank a good friend of mine, Nick Lagrasso from Missouri. Excellent guy. I actually just met at the PDCA convention this last year, and I wanted to double check a bunch of chemicals and mixtures with him, and he was kind enough to sort of just give me an inside scoop, the Ask a Painter kind of look into his process. And I want, again, Nick Lagrasso, thank you so much. I appreciate the recommendations, and from my experience, added to his recommendations, I've come up with some sodium hydroxide mixture here, and I'll flip this around. All right, you can see I have my mixture in my bucket here. I have it laid out. It's been dwelling maybe 15 minutes. This deck here, it's probably, like I said, 8 to 10 years old. It has been treated for its first couple years. It's been treated twice a year. And then for the last couple years, you know, I do the wash, the sand, and then the recoat. So basically, this is exactly done by the manufacturer's recommendations for these oil stains. Excuse me. I have never had the pleasure of actually doing a deck like this. That's why I do it to my own. When I get decks, they're in need of full restoration. And nobody, even my best clients, don't follow the recommendations for recoating, which for most oil stains is every 12 months. So you can see in the corner over here, I'm going to have Kale blast this stuff off, and I'll kind of show you how much of the finish it took off. Thanks, Kale. All right, so we got a great start here. Bare wood in this area here, a little bit thicker stuff. You can tell there's a little bit of solution left here, but coming off really nicely. So, you know, next week, mix it up a little bit hotter, put it under some plastic, let it dwell longer, and we're going to restore this sucker. Not because it needs it, just because I want to experiment. I want to hone my deck restoration to a fine point. So with this one, I'm going to be getting most of the stain off here, and we're going to be starting over. So if you guys have any questions for me, certainly type them in the thing here. Otherwise, go to Ask a Painter on Facebook. Leave any of your questions. Every day next week, we're going to be doing live feeds from my house, celebrating the 100th birthday of my house, and also celebrating the partnership between the PDCA and Ask a Painter. So you guys will be able to, every Friday, the schedule will be the same. We'll be going live. The only difference is we now are partnered with the PDCA, and we will fully exploit that, all that access to the other contractors, and bring you the finest, the best content we could possibly deliver on running a painting business and also getting the paint on the house. So thank you for everybody who's watching. There's going to be an exciting year for the PDCA and for Ask a Painter. And you can follow along with the hashtag Slavik Century Restoration if you want to follow along in the restoration of my own home. And like I said, really interesting, at least most interesting part of this project for me is going to be using some fine paints of Europe, high gloss Holland lac on some of these doors. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.